It's recording, right? Good evening, folks. We have in the studio today an illustrator you should probably know about. She's here to discuss her latest project, a series of book illustrations for Coraline, the dark fantasy horror children's novel by author Neil Gaiman. We'll be talking about the second illustration that she's done for this series. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, could you start by telling us a bit more about your project and this illustration in particular?
Yes, absolutely. So, beginning of last year, I read Coraline, and I've always loved the movie for years, but I never read the novel, so I finally did last year, and I decided to do this project because I was looking back on my work at that time and thinking that my art style was pretty inconsistent, and so I wanted to have a couple of illustrations that are at least the same art style. And so the second illustration that I'm here to talk about is about the scene where Coraline is being warned by the characters Miss Pink and Miss Forcible that she is in terrible danger. The flat smelled of furniture polish and dogs. "Yes, please," said Coraline. Miss Pink led her into a dusty little room, which she called the parlor. On the walls were black and white photographs of pretty women, and theater programs in frames. Miss Forcible was sitting in one of the armchairs, knitting hard. They poured Coraline a cup of tea in a little ping-pong china cup with a saucer. They gave her a dry Garibaldi biscuit to go with it.
What are some of the difficulties that you encountered in the process?
I think the biggest one, if I had to name just one, it would be setting up an interior, like setting up a room. I usually prefer drawing things that are outside where things are more organic, but with this one I had to challenge myself to draw a room, and it was really difficult to set up for me. Luckily, I found out about this website called Floor Plan Creator. It basically allows you to lay out furniture in a room, and it will give you a 3D version of that room that you can kind of navigate through and change the angle to get the angle that you need for your image or illustration or whatever you need it for.
Well, I'm sure our audience will find that really helpful. What was next for you?
Now that I had both a sketch and a direction, it was time to render. Since Miss Pink and Miss Forcible are retired actresses, for inspiration I was looking at late 19th, early 20th century actresses. I saw this photo of Ida Conquest, the leading lady on Broadway, and gravitated toward that hairstyle instantly for Miss Pink. I imagine that Miss Pink is the more eccentric one in a relationship, while Miss Forcible has a more collected personality and appearance. She has slick hair like Josephine Baker, but when it comes to her demeanor, she's more cold, Catwoman-like, if you may. However, both women bond over their unhinged taste in art, which is why their favorite movie is Possession.
So that's how it went. That's pretty much how it went, yes. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I'm sure we all learned a lot. We'll be back soon to talk about the next illustration in the series. And in case I don't see you folks, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.